Everybody, welcome to a big time news event of Teaching Crypto, AZcrypto, MrFOMO on this Friday. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, bell notification. And as always, super chats in the store available. Well, looks like we got some crazy news that I honestly did think would not happen. The ETH ETF has been approved. Now you're going to go into detail as to why money is not pouring in just yet, but this is something neither of us expected to actually happen. We thought it would be delayed and delayed, maybe not outright canceled, but it is going through. It is a bit of a shock, and it is kind of a huge landmark in the digital asset space in the United States. So, MrFOMO, why don't you give our viewers the details that they might not be getting from some of the other shows?
Well, this is only an initial approval. It's not a full approval. An S1 filing is what you want to be approved when you're talking about ETFs. And so this was the 19B4 filing, which is like a pre-approval, as I understand it. It's basically saying that the framework is there and the SEC is giving them pre-approval to keep working on it. But that doesn't mean that it is approved for sale yet. You need an S1 filing to be approved in order to sell that product. And so right now, ETH ETFs are approved in theory, but you can't sell them anywhere. BlackRock, VanEck, all of those companies that are chomping at the bit to put one out, they're still going to have to go back and sit with the SEC and hash out, dot their I's, cross their T's, and get everything squared away before they can file an S1 or have an S1 approved and then actually start selling the ETF. And so no one is selling the ETF just because this 19B4 approval was here. Doesn't mean that any of those companies are doing it. And that means that those companies are actively involved in conversations with the SEC to make sure that their eventual S1 filings do get approved.
But it looks like the SEC will say yes. And that, yes, you are right. There's not money coming in, but it will come in. And so if we go back to the Bitcoin and look at the 7-day, then I'll flip over the 24-hour. If you remember what happened in January with the Bitcoin ETF, there was about a 2-week red period. And that's what might be happening here with ETH and the rest of the market, because we saw some euphoria yesterday early. And now this weekly chart looks awesome, obviously. But now if I go to the 1-day, it's a bit different. Hold on. Let's try that again. Here we go. All right. So you see here, we were trying to make a push to 39 to back to 4K, and we've gone back a bit. This is normal. If we go back to the Bitcoin ETF a few months ago, well, more than a few months ago now in January. Again, I'm now much more bullish on June than I ever was before, at least when we get past this early stage of a bit of a red period. I know what you're thinking. We had 8.5 weeks of red action on Bitcoin in the entire market, and then they finally get some positive momentum the last week, and then here we go again with a little bit of a dip. But hey, we keep saying this. Things are never going to go straight up. I do think we are in recovery now. I don't think we're going back to 60K BTC or 56K BTC. I think it's happening. The recovery has started. And so I anticipate this red period will not be nearly as long as the 8 weeks we experienced before, where we went from just under 74K to 56K in a matter of 8 weeks. So I'm pretty bullish here. I do expect a 5K ETH. Let me make that correction. By July, MrFOMO. I'll put that out there. 5K ETH by July. We'll see if I'm wrong or right, but I think this is very temporary here.
Yes, and I would agree with that too. I think that the 19B4 approval hints that the S1 filing will be approved when it finally comes through. And so I think maybe in the coming weeks or in the coming months, which would put it right in line with July, you're going to see that spot ETF actually approved, and you're going to see companies start putting that product out for their customers. Then you're going to see that explosive growth. And so I think the logic is actually there for a 5K BTC by July, and maybe even prior.
You mean ETH, same mistake as me.
Sorry, 5K ETH. 5K ETH by July, and maybe even prior to that, depending on when that spot ETF is approved.
Yeah. And so nothing to worry about here, guys. This is, I don't think this is a sell the news. We're going back down for several months. No, nothing to worry about here. Very natural. And I wouldn't be surprised if sometime next week, ETH picked right back up in the next 72 hours or a little after. Now, let's quickly check in on Bitcoin, because it's also obviously the mover in the space, as you know, and we've had a bit of a retrace here as well. As you can see, all right, we were pushing 70, kind of rejected, got right before, now holding on at 67. I do think the 65, 64 area needs to be held here. I'll just say that. I don't anticipate a 60K BTC, but we're kind of in the space now where over the next week or so, we need to hold going into June, so we don't get into the danger of going back into the 60s and dare I say high 50K range. I don't expect it at all, but you always got to pay attention because you never know. But I do think we've recovered now, not fully, obviously, and it would not shock me to see all-time highs, believe it or not, towards the middle to the end of month of June, not July.
Well, that would be impressive. I still think that the summer's going to be slow. But that could change the ETH ETF could spur the market and could change everything for Bitcoin as well. But you also could have rate cuts coming. Just this morning, it was announced that Vladimir Putin wants to have a ceasefire on the front lines in Ukraine. And so if things like that keep happening, then you could see the macro environment shaping up to give us some explosive summer.
Let me explain why I'm saying mid to late June versus mid to late July now. The dead period, or mini bear, let's just call it what it was, started about a month before we expected in early March. We're actually on spring break. And so therefore, it's not out of the question that instead of full recovery happening in July, it happens later in June. So that is my expectation. I feel like this cycle has been a month ahead of schedule. If you really look at the dates compared, everything's about 30 to 40 days ahead of schedule, which means probably, Nostra will want to tell you this, that the bull run will probably end a month at least before people expect it to in 2025. But I really do believe that you can never time these things exactly. We know there's going to be high and low periods. We know that's why we always say take profits, take profits, take profits. But I do believe this summer into early fall, there's going to be a significant time to take some really good profits, and you're going to have to act on it, right? And if you've missed out on all that 8.5 weeks to accumulate, here you go again, another opportunity. Because I want to talk about iOS network, and we've been becoming a lot of iOS network. We've been covering a lot, but I think it's important for our viewers to understand something. All right, so here we go. iOS network has become the first depend company listed on the Nevada Accelerated Application Catalog. Here's the deal, okay? iOS is going to be a player in this bull run. All right, let me make it perfectly clear. We're sitting at 84 cents. When this thing heats up, I expect it to easily go above $2. Okay, sometime before the end of August. But I wouldn't surprise me if we did this in the next 6 weeks. That's over a 2x in the next 6 weeks. I wanted you guys to be aware. That's my expectation. Now, again, if we have another, like you think, Bitcoin goes back to red for a month, it's not going to happen. But I think iOS, and it was actually this week, we made a run at 95 cents. So again, at 84 cents, market cap 923 million, still below $1 billion. I think this is a $3+ billion project here during the bull run minimum. So I think, when you look at all-time highs being at $2.67, 84 cents, and it's holding pretty well, actually. I think we're doing well here. And if you're an iOS holder, be patient. If you're not an iOS network, do the research. Obviously, don't jump in just because we tell you to. This is entertainment purpose only, but do the research and see what you think. Because this one this year, MrFOMO, not bad. It's within a year, it's gone from 1 cent and it peaked at $1.08 at the height of this bull run. But that's over 4,700%. Not a bad return. We weren't speaking on it that early, but we were on this at 14 cents. And remember, we wrote it up over $1. And I know you are looking to get into this one. So this might be time, MrFOMO, for you to FOMO.
Well, I mean, just the idea that it is deep in, it is AI related. It has a partnership with NVIDIA, which is, I mean, that by itself is huge. And so I don't I don't think you're wrong on this one, and I don't think anybody would be hurt by taking a look at this one because it's making such noise. I just don't think you can go wrong with this one.
Yeah.
So I really like this one because of the narrative, but also because of that partnership that's out of control.
Yeah. And hopefully if you do FOMO in, it won't go down too much. No, just kidding.
Well, that's the rule, isn't it? Every time I buy something, give it 24 to 48 hours.
Well,
And
I think Stellar Luminous is still a 3-year down cycle. Still hasn't recovered from your initial buy.
Yeah, I still haven't come back on my Stellar Lumens purchase from that long ago.
Yeah. Well, you have something to give us, a Friday gift before we leave our viewers, so go for it.
Well, I have one that I want to talk about, and
thank you, by the way, Tennessee. We appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Tennessee is a great contributor to the show. So
Tennessee is like our he's another co-host on the show. Basically, he gives us great information, and he's always here to the live stream. So we really appreciate Tennessee. All right, so I'm going to talk about Ronin today, and this, as you can see, is number 81 on the coin market cap list. Has a 1 billion market cap, but Ronin is the blockchain that supports Axie Infinity, and Axie Infinity is a huge game in the crypto space. It's one of the ones that's made the most noise of all the games in the crypto space. And Ronin supports that. It's the only blockchain proven to scale to a single game to accommodate millions of daily users. Ronin is responsible for 15% of all NFT sales on chain. They're second only in NFT sale volume to ETH. And like I said, it's home to all Axie Infinity assets, Axies, Land, SLP, and AXS. You've got the gaming narrative here. And the only thing I want you to be careful about is that tomorrow they have a token release. So they're going to unlock some tokens tomorrow. So you're going to see the price do a little bit of a dip probably. When the price dips, you're going to have the opportunity to pick it up. It's already been dipping this month. If I look on the 30-day, you can see that it's already dipped based on the knowledge that they were going to have a token release tomorrow. So go ahead and wait for that dip. Wait for it to dip a little bit more. Jump in if you feel like it, and you've got yourself an interesting play there. Now, a similar one, Immutable X, had a token release on the 20th. You saw them with a brief dip. This is also a gaming token. And then it started to come back after that brief dip. So they have a similar market cap to Ronin. I think it's a little bit higher. And their token release was similar to what Ronin is releasing tomorrow. And so I expect Ronin to dip a little bit, but I expect with that volume of NFT sales, I expect this thing to be a big player. Aside from just being a gaming narrative, I expect it to be a big player in this bull run.
Yeah, if you can pick it up in the $2 range, that to me seems very spicy. Thank you, Rorez, for checking us out live. Thank you, CS, for giving us that information. Thank you to all our viewers. Guys, do us a huge favor if you can this weekend. Share the show with someone that's not a subscriber. And if you haven't, smash that like and subscribe button. And Super Chats in the store, always available. Thank you guys so much. You guys have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you later.
See you.